In this video, I'm going to be doing 60 matches, 30 in ranked and 30 in stand and bank. And yes, I get it. To a lot of you guys, that is nothing. A lot of you guys probably do like 60 matches a day, which is crazy. But the goal of this video is to try to work on my consistency, which honestly is my biggest weakness when it comes to these UFC games. You can run into me in one fight and I'll give you a hell of a time. And you run into me a second time and you end up wondering if I'm a Division 10 player or something. So without wasting any additional time, man, let's get to these fights and try to lose as few times as possible. Let's do it. Now, the first three matches were basically quits, right? The first guy was using Sean O'Malley, and I guess he just realized he wasn't going to win, so he decided to do us both a favor and quit out after I dropped him a few times. Second guy was using Ilia Topuria, and he actually made it to the second round, but then as soon as I dropped him with a roundhouse kick to the body, he decided, nope, I am done with this shit, and he quit out. Third guy had Sean O'Malley as well, and it was pretty much the same story as the first fight. I dropped him a few times, and as soon as round one was over, he quit in between rounds. So that's 3 quits in a row to start off this stand and bang run, and I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm really not. I'm really not. The next 3 fights were essentially a Carlos Prates fighter showcase, which honestly, this is a guy that I really enjoy using in stand and bang, so expect to see him quite a bit. I used him against a Nate Diaz player, got the KO in round 1. Then against Ingary, got the KO in round 2. And then against Ingary again and got the KO in round 1. Fight number 7, I had Ilia Topuria against Charles Oliveira. And just like in the real life fight, I caught him pretty early and got the KO in round 1. The next fight was at middleweight. I decided to go with Israel against Alex Pereira, and I got a beautiful wheel kick KO in round number 2. I decided to use Israel again in the next fight, and my opponent wanted to mirror me. No problem. Got the KO in round 1. Then I went with John Jones for fight number 10, and my opponent decided to start knee elbow spamming against a John Jones player. So I figured, you know what, man, I'm going to return the favor, and I finished him with an elbow in round number 2. I went back to featherweight and knocked out Yair Rodriguez with a front kick in round 2. Then I knocked out Ilia Topuria in round 1. And in flyweight, I went with Joshua Van and got the weirdest freaking first round KO. I don't even understand how I did that much damage to flat out knock him out. But look, I'll take it. I will take that. Back to welterweight with, again, Carlos Prates. And my opponent quit in between rounds like they always do. Then I KO'd Jose Aldo in round 1 at featherweight. Now, I'm sure you've noticed that I'm using a lot of really good characters, and that's not necessarily what I do all the time. But the goal here is to try to be as consistent as possible while also being as competitive as possible. And it's just easier to do that when you have better characters. They just give you a better chance of winning. So you guys are going to see some of the same guys over and over and over again, just letting you know. My apologies on that. I could not use the regular lower rated characters I usually do, so hope you guys don't mind. The next fight was a rematch against a player I already fought before, and once again, I knocked him out in round 1. Then I had a fight in the women's strawweight division and knocked out Joanna in round 1. I decided to use Alex in my next fight against Izzy and got the KO in round 1 with a block counter, and that's when I ran into the player that gave me my first loss. He had Chuck Liddell, and honestly, man, fair game to this dude. He was doing a lot of weird and interesting shit, and by the time I was able to figure out what he was actually doing, my head health was already way too low, and he got the KO in round 3. And of course, he had to taunt me afterwards. I mean, of course he had to. I won the next 4 fights. The first one was a round 3 KO, then a decision in the second, a round 2 KO in the third, and a round 3 KO with an oblique kick. Then I ran into a Jalen Turner player that, if I'm being honest, man, really tilted me with his playstyle. And again, I don't know what it is about this backing up, lateral moving strikes, weird playstyle that gets me, but it's pretty consistent at this point. Like, anytime I run into a player like this in stand and bang, it's always super difficult for me to like figure them out. And like, that's something I gotta fix, because I really should not be losing to players like this, you know? And to be fair, if it was MMA, right, you could take them down and try to bypass some of the weird stuff they're doing on the feet. But in stand and bang, man, there is no way to hide. You gotta deal with whatever weird thing they're doing, and I gotta figure out that style, because again, I should not be losing to players like that. Now, after this fight, you would think that EA cursed me with quitters, because the next 6 fights I did, out of the next 6 fights I did, 5 of them were quits. I'm not kidding. The first guy quit in round 1 after getting beat up pretty bad, and the next guy quit out right after I knocked him out. Then I got into a body kick war in a Jermaine throw random knees mirror match, which led to Homeboy quitting in round 1. Then I ran into an Irene Aldana player. I think that's how you say her name. But this guy got very upset because I didn't want to stand right in front of him going toe-to-toe when I have like a taller kickboxer. So they quit out in round 1. The next fight was a Peyton Talbot mirror match, which ended in round 1 KO. And then the last fight I did in Stand and Bang ended with a quit in between rounds. Again, I don't get it, bro. I don't get it. So again, 5 quits in the last 6 matches it's insane. It's a freaking epidemic at this point. And like, I don't know what the solution is, but I mean, we've seen that over and over and over again. But yeah, man, after 30 matches, I lost 2 fights in Stand and Bang. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's also not good at all, especially because 1, I was actually trying to win those fights. I wasn't distracted. I wasn't doing live commentary or anything. I was using pretty good characters to try to win, and I wasn't running into like the best players in the world. So in 30 matches, I really should not be losing a single fight. Like at my skill level, I should not be losing at all in 30 matches. So again, the consistency is not where it needs to be. It really isn't. And that's why I'm kind of trying to work on that, right? A way to keep mental focused entire time while I'm playing at my best every single time. So that's it for Stand and Bang. Next up, we're going to move over to MMA, where I'm also going to do 30 matches. And something tells me I'm going to do a lot better in MMA, because with MMA, again, you're not locked in. If you run into a player that's doing something weird, you could always try to clinch them. You could try to take them down. There's a bunch of different things you can do, right? MMA, in my opinion, is easier than Stand and Bang. So I think I'm going to do a lot better in MMA. Now, moving on to MMA, I started things off with Dricus Du Plessis against a pretty elusive Israel player. I couldn't really do much to the dude in round 1, but in round 2, I knocked him down against the cage and I was able to get the finish. Then I faced Conor McGregor with Alexander Volkanovski, and after rocking him on the feet, I got the takedown, had him stuck in crucifix, took us back, and eventually finished him with an arm triangle from mount. The next fight was my John Jones against a freaking clinch spamming Alistair Overeem, but as soon as I gave that dude a taste of his own medicine, he quit. Of course he did. Then I ran into Zabit Magomed Sharipov. Man, it's been a minute since I saw that dude, bro. But, you know, got the TKO in round 2. And it was a pretty good fight, though, I gotta say. Then I ran into Umar Nurmagomedov and got the first round TKO. Fight number 6 was against a Kayla Harrison player, and I got the KO in round 1. And sticking with Amanda Nunes, I head kick KO'd a Norma Dumont player in round 1. I actually felt bad about that one. The next fight was a Petryan mirror match, or Peter Yan, however you guys say that man's name. It was against the guy that really wanted to go toe-to-toe, but as soon as I dropped him, he quit. Of course he did. Then I had another Petryan mirror match, and once I got this dude into crucifix and he couldn't get out, he too decided to quit out, which, you know, is the kind of shit you see in ranked, especially when it's MMA. Then I guess Jan had this effect on players, because the next guy that I fought as well decided to quit out the match after falling for my block counter. So that's 10 matches, right? 10 fights with 0 losses and 3 quits in a row. They got to figure out what's going on with Jan. Why is he making all these dudes quit out? Fight number 11 was my Justin Gaethje against a Dan Hooker player, and we pretty much spent the entire fight just kickboxing, and I got the KO in round 1. Then I ran into a player who wanted to use Islam, and to play it safe, because like I really wasn't sure what this dude was gonna do, I decided to pick Islam Makhachev as well. And during the fight, I kind of expected that he was going to try to grapple me at some point, but like his entire posture was that of someone who just wanted to strike. So I'm like, okay, I'm down with that. So That's what we did until I got the KO in round number 2. I ran into a Carlos Prates player and decided to go with Leon Edwards, and I'm pretty freaking happy I did because the match was actually pretty competitive on the feet before I got the KO in round 2. Next up was Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje. This is a fight that I actually would like to see in real life at some point. This guy actually hurt me and dropped me pretty early, and he almost finished the fight, but I managed to survive the first round. And in round number 2, I decided to just pressure him and see if he could handle pressure. He couldn't, and we were able to get the TKO. Then it was a Brandon Royval mirror match. I got the first round KO on that one. Then it was Islam Makhachev versus a Michael Morales. Got the second round KO. In fight number 17, I knocked out a Carlos Prates player in the second round. And in fight number 18, it was versus a Jose Aldo player where we got another quit. But to be fair, though, like, I really butchered this dude's head and legs. Like, I hurt his head and legs so bad. And there was just no way he was going to turn this fight around. So I can't really blame Homeboy for trying to quit out of the match. Fight number 19 was a third round submission against a Robbie Lawler player that for some reason wanted to grapple me with Robbie Lawler. And fight number 20 was a second round KO plus a quit against a Weili player that essentially turned the fight into a straight up brawl. I gotta say though, I really enjoyed that fight because this whole time either players are running away from me or they're playing in some weird style. So when I come across somebody that's like really wants to go at it and really wants to fight, it's, you know, I really enjoy those. Then I decided to go with Justin Gaethje against a Dan Hooker player again. Got the KO in round 2. Then I ran it back with a Rose Namajunas player that wanted to clinch, so decided to clinch him back and got the clinch elbow KO in round 2. The next guy who quit out in round 1 as soon as I got the first knockdown. Of course he did. And in fight number 27, I KO'd a Valentina Shevchenko player in round 2 after they survived a pretty rough first round. So now I've done 24 matches in MMA with absolutely no losses, which is kind of interesting because this is around the time when I start to lose focus and my consistency flies out the window and I start losing fights that I shouldn't lose. But I think just fighting in MMA really helps because with MMA, right, you have way more options. And if you were to get into trouble, let's say you run into a player that's doing something very weird on the feet and you can't really figure them out, you can clinch them, you can take them down. And like I suspected, fighting in MMA and it's just easier. It's easier because you have way more ways to win. So anyways, fight number 25 was a second round KO against a Jose Aldo player. And in fight number 26, my opponent actually lasted till round number 3, but then he decided to quit out because, I mean, I guess he just didn't think he was going to win. I don't know. I don't freaking know. Then I ran into a GSP player in the next fight, and I'll be honest, man, I almost lost this one. And this guy was extremely elusive and careful with everything that he was doing, but then he made the same mistake a lot of players make, right? He rocked me, and he got way too overly aggressive trying to finish the fight, which then left an opening for me to find a knockout. I tell you guys this all the time. You gotta be careful when you rock your opponent because it's when you rock them that a lot of times they become a lot more dangerous, and that's when you leave massive openings trying to freaking get them out of there. You leave yourself open, and next thing you know, boom, you get finished. So when you rock somebody, you gotta be careful. You gotta be absolutely careful. Pick your shots. Don't go too crazy, or you might end up on the wrong end of things. Fight number 28 was against an elbow spamming Gene Silva, and as soon as I decided to do it right back to him, I got the second round KO with an elbow. And the next 2 fights were essentially a Dricus du Plessis fighter showcase. I got a round number 3 KO against a super clean Nasruddin Imavov player. But after I noticed that, you know, he didn't move his head too much, I just pretty much pinned him with jabs and straights until I found a KO. And then I got a TKO finish against a Robbie Lawler, not a Robbie Lawler, a Robert Whitaker player for fight number 30. And honestly, this was pretty much the easiest fight I had the entire time, which was very fitting for the very last fight of this little experiment that I was trying to do. So after 30 fights in MMA, I did not lose a single fight, although I came close to losing a couple times. But 30 and 0, 30 and 0 in MMA, and you know, it kind of solidified exactly what I was thinking. I knew I was going to have a harder time in stand and bank, even though I much prefer fighting on the feet as opposed to grappling in this game. I always have. But because MMA gives you a lot more options in case you run into trouble, I had an easier time in MMA. But all in all, 60 matches across stand and bang and MMA with only 2 losses. I'll be honest with you, if I was to give myself a really honest rating, I would say that is okay, but for my skill level, it's actually not good for a few reasons. One, I was using the best fighters in the game. I wasn't using any lower rated characters. 2, I did not have any distractions. I wasn't doing commentary or anything like that. I was completely focused and actually trying to win the fights. And 3, I really wasn't running into like the best players in the world. If I was running into like the best players in the world, I would have had maybe 20. It would have been like losses all over the freaking place. So at my skill level, the level of players I was running into, I ran into like a bunch of, you know, players that were on my level for sure. Like I can beat players on my level consistently. But still, like I should be able to do 60 matches and not lose a single fight. I should be able to do 100 matches, especially in ranked, because like the quality of players you come across in ranked is really not that good. So I really should not be losing as much as I do in ranked. And it just goes to show that my consistency, again, is not where it needs to be. And this is something that I really would like to work on. And it is something that I'm going to absolutely work on. The ability to stay focused, play at the level I should be playing at every single match. You know, it's not easy. It's not easy. There's some players that are able to do it very well. Like, you know, a lot of these guys are stream all the time. Guys like Go1099, Nas, these guys can play at a very high level consistently for hours. I don't know how the hell they do it. But it's something that I would like. It's a skill I would like to also acquire at some point. But yeah, that's going to do it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was way too like, I did this and this and this and this, but you know, there was too many freaking fights. I had to run through all of them like that. Hope you enjoyed. Give me your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you guys want to see me try this with 100 fights, sure, I'll try it. I'll try it. So thanks again for watching. You guys rock. I'll see you later. Peace out. Have a good one.